There are many iconic storylines from when I was a kid. Of course, there was the NWO, Hulk Hogan turning into a bad guy, everybody throwing their trash in the ring. Stone Cold Steve Austin giving his boss a stunner in the middle of the ring, and his boss making his life a living hell. But none more iconic, in my opinion, than the infamous Choppy Choppy PP. Now, of course, this is not one of the most historical angles of all time, but it is certainly going to go down as one of the most memorable. I don't think history will ever forget the Choppy Choppy PP, and one person who knows that better than anybody is Val Venis himself. Before we get to that clip, though, for those of you unfamiliar with the Choppy Choppy PP angle, most of you I'm sure are, so just humor me for a quick second. Essentially, Kaientai back in the day was a Japanese faction, and their boss was may or may not have been tied to the Yakuza, the Japanese mafia. This was during the Vince Russo era, if you couldn't tell already. And Val Venis was banging this guy's daughter. And Val Venis, obviously the dirty porn star who bangs everybody. So was it his daughter or his young wife? I think it was his daughter. So they snatched him up backstage, and they took a big katana sword. They had him tied up, and he was, his back was to the camera, so you couldn't see the actual incident. But supposedly they put himself on the table, and he went down and he hit the gimmick with the sword, and Val sold it and fell down. And this was in the era of Lorena Bobbitt, who some of the younger folks might not remember, made the news around that time, maybe a little bit before that, for chopping off her husband's penis. This will come back into play later, so just keep that in the back of your mind. Put that in your back pocket, put his penis in your back, put his severed penis in your back pocket, and just hold that thought. So this was the angle, and it will go down in pro wrestling infamy.
Kaientai dragging Val Venis into a room, and wait a minute, King, that's that chopping block. What are they going to do here? Watch it, he's got a sword. You don't think that he would? You don't.
Never to be forgotten, here's Val Venis talking about said storyline and angle on Wrestling Shoot Interviews with James, the guy who does the Dutch Mantel podcast. James does a lot of great interviews out there. I borrow from him from time to time because he puts out a lot of great content with a lot of interesting people. So appreciate you, James, for letting me sample your clips and not throwing copyright strikes at me like AEW does to Stevie Richards. But go ahead and check out this clip of Val Venis, Choppy Choppy PP.
Vince Russo and his crew of guys. And it just seemed like they had every week I'd come in and they'd have more, the storyline continue, and it just kept going and going. And, they were pushing the envelope at the time. And that was what I would consider, fitting the bill for pushing that envelope. Is the whole Kaientai Val Venis, Choppy Choppy, the PP storyline off. I remember getting to the arena that night. They told me they were gonna, do the old chopping block thing, and I was like, "Are we really putting this on TV?" And they're like, "Yup." And I'm like, "Wow, I can't believe that." I had no issues with it at all. I just couldn't believe we were going to create it and it was actually going to go out on TV. I was amazed by that. I was like, I can't believe we're really doing this. And when it actually went out, I was, broadcast, and I watched it back. I was like, looking at it, I go, man, we created that. And that's an envelope pushing, I guess you could say, memory created for a lot of fans that even to this day, I mean, that's one of the most popular storylines that people come up and speak to me about is the choppy choppy, the pee angle. You know what I mean? So it was,
So, of course, like I said earlier, this was a storyline famously inspired by Lorena Bobbitt, who chopped her husband's dick off in the middle of the night. Her husband by the name of John Wayne Bobbitt. So, of course, if you were Vince Russo, hypothetically, pretend you don't know what happens, right? If you're Vince Russo, I'm going to give you a few things. Guy famously gets his dick cut off in the news. So now you did a storyline about a guy getting his dick cut off. What would you think to do next if you were Vince Russo? If you guessed bring in the guy who got his dick cut off to be on the show and participate in the storyline, you are correct. You win the pony and the severed dick in a box in a glass case to put up on your shelf. Here's what Val Venis had to say about working with the man himself, the involuntarily eunuched man himself. I think they sewed it back on. I think he's functioning. As a matter of fact, I think he did porn for a little bit after. Look, if they chopped it off, can you get them and they're able to reattach it? Can you get them to add more to it? Like, if you're going to reattach it, can you, like, pull it out a little bit further and give me, like, another 2 or 3 or 4 inches? Just a hypothetical. Cause I mean, he went and did porn, and no matter what his size was, I mean, there's hypothetically there's got to be some kind of interest there, right? Just as a weird spectacle in any event, just the curiosity factor of what's this man who's had his dick chopped off by his wife look like while he's fucking a porn star? I don't know. But Vince Russo brought him into the WWF to participate in the Choppy Choppy PP storyline angle. And Val Venis wasn't too thrilled about it. Check out this clip.
Working with John Wayne Bobbitt, of all people, for that 1 week. Did he even understand what was... Tell me the story.
Oh, this guy, I'll tell you, you know, hey, any guy that goes and actually... in real life gets the choppy choppy the PP done. Hey, I got all the empathy in the world for you. But this guy, honestly, and like I got to be fair here. I can't say specifically that he's the dumbest man I've ever met in the world, because I really, you know, other than what he came in for, you know, the few times with WWE to do some stuff with us, I don't know the guy. But I can tell you this, the several hours that I spent with him backstage, I came to the conclusion this is literally the dumbest human being on the planet, literally. And you start to get the idea of why his ex-wife would go to the extent of, you know, committing a crime against him like that. But the only thing I can think of when I think of that man, John Wayne Bobbitt, is the dumbest man I've ever met.
I'm glad that Val sees that this storyline was fun and that he doesn't like regret it and think it's stupid, and that people, this is the thing that people bring up to him more than pretty much anything. This will never be forgotten. This is one of those, Attitude Era did a lot of silly shit, had a lot of weird stuff happen over the years. But this will be one of those storylines that will never be forgotten. And quite honestly, this is when wrestling fandom and ratings were at its peak. So how could you criticize it? It's not going to work in today's society, but at the time in that society in the late 90s, when everybody was an edgy piece of shit asshole, Choppy Choppy PP it fit right in. It made perfect sense that the Yakuza mafia lord fucking manager would chop the porn star's dick off with a sword for fucking his daughter and disgracing his family. Makes perfect sense to me in the Jerry Springer era. But what are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. Were you around back then? If you weren't, does it sound interesting? Are you going to go back and watch it now? I highly recommend you do. Choppy Choppy PP, bro, all day long. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. Choppy!
Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah, and you can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Oh yeah, dig it.